Hey guys, Nikki here. As promised, answering some questions for you. This morning I have a really good one from a friend, Olivia. Now, I love this question. I think it's great because it applies to everyone, not just bodybuilders. I think, it can apply to life just in general. So Olivia asks me, what hinders me? What part do I struggle with the most through prep? And how do I push past these barriers? What strategies help me see past the obstacles? As I said before, I do have weaknesses, and I believe my main ones are self-doubt, anxiety, negative thinking, and finance, which is a huge part of everyone's life. We'll touch on that later. I will also bring up another point I think a lot of people do struggle with. It's not something that I'm struggling with at present, but it's definitely worth bringing it up. So the main one is emotional eating. I find a lot of bodybuilders do start bodybuilding because of a lack of self-confidence and things like that, and they do find it hard to stick to the diet because of the emotional stuff that comes with it. So me personally, I think the reasons behind emotional eating or just not being able to stick to a diet is the first one being is the calorie deficit is too big, so there's an issue there. Lack of knowledge as well. The other one being nutrient deficiencies or addiction. So sugar and things like that are quite addictive in the body. The main thing is if they aren't an issue and you can't stick to your diet, there's an emotional thing behind there. So that person's defense mechanism is food. So something goes wrong in their life, they'll turn to food and break their diet. So in order to push past something like that, and the above reasons aren't the issue, then they need to dig deeper and find out the underlying issue as to why they turn to food to heal their emotions. So that's the first one. But speaking of defense mechanisms, a good way of kind of figuring out and addressing your issues is finding out how what your defense mechanism is, and what the underlying causes are. So for example, some people project their unhappiness onto others. That's sort of like where a lot of hate comes from. Other people displace their emotions, so they'll blame someone else. Something bad happens, they'll go home and kick the dog, they'll turn to drugs or alcohol, or they'll pick up a random, something like that. For me, my defense mechanism is I repress and then subliminate. So I bottle everything up inside and then I'll go and train it out, and I'll put all my focus in the gym and that's it. So that's kind of where I've gone wrong in the past, and it's led to a lot of imbalances in my life. So I've had to kind of dig into my past and find out why it is I do that, and then face that fear. So that's what I've done. It doesn't sound that bad focusing everything on the gym, but it can be pretty unhealthy holding on to everything that manifests inside. You can get inflammation from that, so your injuries and things like that hang around. And all that negative stored energy can be quite harmful on the body. So I've had to kind of fix that imbalance and dig into my past and find out why I do that. And then, obviously the anxiety and self-doubt, negative thinking patterns have stemmed from that issue in the past. So I won't go into it too much, but I'll give you an example of how to deal with something. I'm not going to tell you what I had to deal with, but I'll give you a general idea. So I had to systematically desensitize myself to a certain situation. Now, a good example of that is, for example, I have a friend that is afraid of sharks. So yeah, big deal. But, in the long run, that's going to affect their life because say they want to go swimming with their kids at the beach, teach them how to surf. That's not possible. And the ocean, it's one of the most beautiful elements in this world and has a lot of good healing powers. So I think it is important to fix an issue like that. So to systematically desensitize, basically you take baby steps into making that fear not so fearful. So facing your fears. So for example, starting off watching a shark documentary might be the first step. Walking into the ocean to your ankles might be the second step. Swimming in an ocean bath where sharks can't get to, but you're still getting there. Then you can go to the other end of the spectrum and go in a shark cage and face them head on. So when it's time to actually go swimming in the ocean, that little bit isn't so scary anymore because you've taken them to the other end of the spectrum and then brought them back to reality, and it feels diminutive after a while. So I think identifying the issue, then finding out a way to deal with it is the best way to go about it. So for me, I've faced my fear head on. I'm still working on dealing with it, but it's certainly changed my physique for the better, and I'm changing daily and being stronger for that. So that's a big one. The next one, I believe, if you want to be successful, you have to be open and willing to actively work on yourself. And I don't just mean successful in your sport or career. I mean just personally. So your desire to succeed needs to outweigh self-doubt. And as I said before, self-doubt is a big one of mine, and my desire to succeed will always outweigh that. So I'm constantly working on myself and finding out ways to make me a better, stronger person. So now on to the next one. Overcoming facing fear. So I've got some notes here. It's quite extensive. So that brings me to the anxiety side of things. That's something that I think the majority of the population does suffer with. And the best way to deal with anxiety is diffusing the situation. So a lot of people act on their emotions, not actually the event. So you kind of need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture from what's happening from the outside, not what's happening from the inside. So that is called cognitive diffusing. It's certainly helped me. So instead of acting on your emotions, you look at the bigger picture, step outside your head, see the situation from the outside looking in as opposed to your mind looking out. So, another way to deal with anxiety is deep breathing techniques. Just slow yourself down so you can rely on your parasympathetic nervous system, and just keeps you calm. So that's a little bit of what I've done to deal with my anxiety. Negative thinking, that's a big one. So negative thoughts can be very, very toxic, circulating in your brain. So you need to break that cycle so you can let positive thoughts flow in. So that kind of comes to the laws of attraction. That's a bit hocus pocus, but I do believe in it. So if you're exuding positive thoughts and you're putting positive out into the universe, you're going to attract that positivity back. But if you're a negative person and it's always a hassle and I'm never going to get a park, blah, 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 like you're always projecting negativity, you'll generally get that feedback. So break those negative thoughts and make room for positive thoughts. So the most effective technique for that is cognitive reframing. So basically taking a negative thought and viewing it as a positive alternative. So for example, I've got heaps of injuries, but I can still walk, I've still got my legs, looking at things like that. There's always a way around it. So be optimistic, that again, laws of attraction. So open your mind to new possibilities and push the old negative crap out. Surround yourself with positive people is really important. If you're around people that are always kind of picking on other people and speaking negatively, then that's how you're going to think. So get rid of them and surround yourself with people that are always, uplifting, positive, look at the bright side, outgoing, and you'll find that you'll adopt that because it's very contagious and you'll feel a lot better. So another thing is, if you don't like an aspect of your life, like your job or your house where you live, change it. It's so easy. Don't complain about it, change it. So move or get a new job, and all that's really exciting in itself. If you don't like it, don't complain about it, change it. Easy as that. So that brings me to the last one, which I brought up before, which is self-doubt. I struggle with this daily as well, especially because I am under a lot of pressure, and people do expect certain things from you, but I've put myself in the spotlight, so I'm no one to blame, but I love it. So the first one is, believe in yourself. So rather than I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or say I am this. So, believe in yourself. That's, so important. And if you believe in yourself, you will morph into that person. I reckon confidence is definitely the sexiest trait somebody can have. If you exude confidence, then people look at you differently. And you don't have to be a dick about it either. There's a difference between being self-confident and being cocky and arrogant. So, take pride in yourself, but, don't have to be a dick about it. It's easy as that. As I said before, when you're confident, people will treat you a bit differently. They'll hold you in a positive light and they'll look up to you. And, that feels really good. So all of that self-doubt will dwindle off into the background and you'll feel really good. Also find someone who believes in you, not to blow smoke up your ass, but someone to keep you in check and remind you, hey, you're doing great, someone you can talk to as well about when you are struggling and your weaknesses and things like that, because they'll always put perspective on the situation and say, hey, you're doing a great job, like, what are you complaining about? For example, I spoke to Luke yesterday, and after I popped my video up, and he's like, how you doing anyway? And I said, oh, you know me, up and down. And he's like, shut up and go back and watch your video, you idiot. So that kind of went, yeah, true. Put perspective on the situation with him not having to blow smoke up my ass. Simple as that. So I hope that helps you. It is quite a lot of personal stuff about me on there, but as I promised, I'd always be open and honest, and I don't believe in withholding information, because the more people I can help, the better I feel, and that's what I'm here for. Yes, I compete because I love it, but the fact that I can reach out to other people and help them improve their quality of life makes me feel awesome, and the feedback I'm getting is fantastic. So hopefully you can learn from my experiences and take a bit of that on board. Please like and comment, share, and feel free to ask me any other questions. Thanks, Mass Nutrition. You guys rock, and I will see you soon.